And he said, well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is you don't have a tumor. The bad news is you're pregnant. And at your age and with your history, you cannot and should not keep this child. And so he was going to schedule a hysterectomy because, again, this was pre-Roe, and so abortion was not legal, but they were going to chart it differently. And my mom said, God doesn't make mistakes. So she literally put her life at risk.
Hello, BeatiDudes, and welcome to another bonus edition of the BeatiDudes, a podcast for Christian men seeking to grow in holiness while learning from each other, walking with each other, praying for each other. And so if you've been enjoying the show, I encourage you, reach out in the comments and tell us something you want us to pray for you about, and we'll lift you up. We try to be very intentional with all that, take care of everybody who's praying for us and supporting us. And
reach out and subscribe somebody.
Yeah, that's it. Also share, like, and subscribe, all of that good stuff. But my name is Paul Kolker, joined as always by my co-hosts Nick Besner.
Ooh, what's going on?
And Jeff Scheffelbein.
I'm wearing a shirt that has my name on the back just in case anybody's wondering who I am.
We're not into self-promotion around here. I'm also wearing a BeatiDudes shirt that has one of three faces on it as mine. So, yeah, that works.
Jeff, it's not only your name.
What name is
not
longer, Saltamachia or Scheffelbein?
Ooh, that's a...
That ought to be one of your trivia questions.
Saltamachia has more syllables, so we'll go with that.
It's a beautiful country. I've visited there.
Well, and... I ordered the Salty Macchia latte.
Nice. But we're back with none other than Jesuits... alumnus of the, was it of the year?
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Distinguished
alumnus, 2011. That's right. Bill Sladek, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! What
Yes.
does Sladek mean?
Keeper of the beer.
Keeper of it.
No, true story. We were in, I think, Vail. This was like 10 years ago, and a waiter came up. He was from the Czech Republic, and I had given him my credit card to pay for the bill, and he came back and he said, by the way, your card's no good. So that was a separate issue. But but he said, Mr. Sladek, he said, do you know you have a very important name in Czechoslovakia? And I said, no. He goes, it means keeper of the beer. So anyway.
There's this old song called Keeper of the Stars, this country song from the 90s, and I'm singing in my head like, I tip my hat to the keeper of the beer.
See, you didn't think I would know the answer to that question.
You
that
know
was a
all
trick
answers.
question. No, I do not.
You're very
No, if I don't know the answer, I'll make it up. So you have no idea if that's true, but you can go check and see if it means keeper of the beer.
I believe you.
All right.
Circle gets a square. I get a point.
Okay.
Nice. So, Christopher, if you'll make sure to record that point.
Thank you.
But we're back. I think we're getting to learn a little bit more about your family, if I'm not incorrect.
Where did you come from?
Yeah. How did you find your way to this place we call Earth?
Well, I actually had a rather interesting story of how I came to be. My parents were... I guess my dad was born in 1910. My mom was born in 1913. So they were 50 and 47 when I was born. In December of 1959, my mom wasn't feeling particularly well, and so she went into the doctor for to kind of have it checked out. And again, the diagnostic technology is very different back then, and the doctor said, "Well, you have a tumor." And so we need to perform a hysterectomy. And so my mom had 4 children. At the time, she had 2 prior miscarriages and a ruptured tubular pregnancy. And so she had a difficult health history with pregnancies. And she said, well, is it emergency or can I come back in January after the holidays? Because, again, I have 4 siblings. And he said, no, you can come back in January. So she goes back in January, and he said, well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is you don't have a tumor. The bad news is you're pregnant. And at your age and with your history, you cannot and should not keep this child. And so he was going to schedule a hysterectomy because, again, this was pre-Roe, and so abortion was not legal, but they were going to chart it differently. And my mom said, God doesn't make mistakes. So she literally put her life at risk to have me. So kind of a funny story from that, my sister, one of my 4 siblings, was graduating that year in 1960 from Ursuline. Okay. So my mom goes to my sister's Ursuline graduation, 8.5 months pregnant with me. I was born June 7th of 1960, and so the Ursuline graduation was late May. So they sat my mom and dad in the main drive at Ursuline and parked an ambulance next to them in case my mom went into labor during the graduation. So they did get special seating out of it.
Yeah.
I guess that was kind of the interesting thing. But the way God works, so my lovely bride of 40 years, Mary, has a somewhat similar story. Mary's biological mother died of bone cancer when Mary was 4 months old. She had been diagnosed several years before, had actually had an amputation, and when she got pregnant with Mary, she said, "This is I'm leaving this earth, but this is a gift that I can leave behind." And Mary actually found a letter, or someone in her family found a letter that her mom wrote while she was pregnant that talked about that. And so Mary, went through all sorts of, when she was born and was just a little baby, went through, withdrawals from medicines and things like that, because they were giving pain meds and stuff to her mom. But, in one world, this pro-abortion world we live in now, in one world, neither one of us should be here.
Yeah.
And we've always, my mom always would say that God brought us together for a purpose. And so it's one reason why we are and always will be so passionate about being pro-life. Because my mom's words echo in my head all the time. God doesn't make mistakes, right? And so it's for us, it just kind of defines everything we do. We're here for a purpose. However long God wants us to be here, He brought us here for a reason. And so I don't want to waste the gift of my life that He gave us or gave me.
I think about, first of all, that's outrageously powerful, and in a time when people didn't have any of the technology that we have now to be able to know a lot of like what was real and what was possible. So that's a faith story and a story of love. The Saint socks that we gave you on the last show, the Saint Gianna Molla, this story where she was basically told that the baby was going to kill her, so they needed to abort, and she didn't, and now you have a saint whose daughter is still alive and living in this beautiful world. And I think about all of the legacy, not of just what you and Mary have accomplished, which we heard on the last show, is not small. But even if it was just that you were a janitor, it would be a life of dignity and a life worth having, worth loving, worth giving opportunity to. But it continues. I mean, y'all have how many children together?
Well, we have 5 total. We have an angel baby.
Yeah.
Mary miscarried after our first 3, and then we had our daughter Maddie. So we have
5.
5 total, 4 that are with us here, and 1 that's praying for us in heaven.
All of which would have been severed for either side's, decisions or pressure. And I can't imagine that.
And by the way, I can say this now because I've been freed of it. We're expecting a grandchild.
Yes.
So
Nice.
our daughter Maddie, who's our youngest, is due January 23rd of 25. So she's 16 weeks along.
Yeah, Big Daddy. Look at you, Grandpa.
No, Pops, yeah.
Is that what you're going with?
Don't call me Grandpa.
You going with Pops?
Yeah, I'm going with Pops.
I-
Well, Mary wanted Lolly for her and Pop for me, so Lollipop.
Really?
Wow.
That's awesome.
You
we
could get all dressed up
debated-
for the hospital.
Exactly. Big giant lollipop. We're debating about, should it just happen organically, like whatever.
Yeah.
And we're Maddie's having a girl, so whatever our granddaughter chooses to call us. But it's like, no, I'm calling my shot. I'm going to be Pops.
Yeah, you got to watch out with those because then they say something cute, but that's off, and everybody's like, "That's so cool," and you're like, "I'm not Crappa. I'm something else." You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, my grandmother's first cousin, so like great aunt, I guess
Yeah.
is what that would
Got
make
it.
her for me. She, her first grandchild called her Kiko,
And it's just
and
stuck.
that
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
she has
Hey,
still
Kiko.
known
Yeah.
by all of the cousins and everything. So.
This
Just
is your
tell
time to be.
everybody it means Hawaiian princess.
There you go. It does, kind of has that ring to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just go with that.
What
Yeah.
if he called you Beer Keep, or your granddaughter called you Beer
Oh,
Keep?
well,
Yeah.
then I would change
Beer
from
Keep.
Pops. Yeah.
Hey, Beer
As
Keep.
long as she's not saying, get me a beer. That's right. At least until she's 21.
There you go.
Congratulations, brother. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
we're really excited. It's it's we're of the vintage, us, not you guys, that a lot of our friends have grandkids. And, some of them are kind of scoreboard, and it's like, I'm having my 10th, and I'm like, shut up. And so, at least we're joining the club. So yeah,
That's
we
fun.
are
Awesome.
we are very excited about it.
It's beautiful.
You know what? To go back, first of all, all of us are excited for this. To go back to kind of Mary's folks and your folks, did they face, outside of the hospital part where somebody's trying to convince you to do this thing, did they face public ridicule or shame or family shame for being late 40s and having a baby, or in the middle of a bone issue and still going through with this? Did they face that, or do you think they had supportive networks?
I think particularly for Mary's mom, there may have been a little bit of that, just because again, she had one leg amputated.
Yeah.
Sort of, why are you having kids now?
Yeah.
But again, it was beautiful because it was a gift, that she could leave behind. I think with my parents, what was interesting was, like once I got into school and then was at grade school and Jesuit, my parents were significantly older than everybody else's parents, and so it was. I mean, there were really wonderful aspects to that because my dad had a series of heart attacks, and so he actually retired when he was 57. So I was only 7 years old, and it ended up being wonderful in one sense because we would take summer trips. We'd go for 2 months, or we'd go out to California, wherever, and so my dad was always present, and that was unusual for that generation.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That generation, it was about work. And so I really feel like I benefited. Now, I lost my dad when I was only 29, died in 1990. My mom lived to be 95. And really up until about the last 4 or 5 months, was just my mom. She's a saint. I mean, I'm just going to declare it. I'll call the Pope later, but was just one of the most wonderful. Everybody that met her, she just made you feel so special, and she had that all the way up until really the last few months. She died on New Year's Day, 2009.
Okay.
And so she lived to be 95, and she really wanted to make 100, but didn't quite get there. But so we were really blessed to have her. Like I said, my dad just, he had so many health issues. So I was only 29 when he passed. But having older parents was different. It was harder for my dad to do athletic sports type things, just in part because of his heart condition, but also just because he was older. And so that part of the relationship was different, but to have him present always was really cool. I mean, I just benefited from that, and it really impacted in how I wanted to parent, to be. When I was a young attorney, I didn't control my schedule a lot, but I kind of bowed up and I told the partners I was working for, I'm coaching my kids.
Yeah.
And so I coached everything. It was just at least, a way to spend time with them. And, I'd work nights, get up in the morning, whatever, to make that work. But that time was just really so important to be able to be with them. And I really got that from my parents because that was my experience.
And you got up at 2:30 back then, so you could get the extra hours in.
Well, that is when I really stuck, because that was back when I was running a lot.
Yeah.
And so, to get a long run in, I don't know
to.
if I got up at 2:30. It was probably more like 3:30 or 4,
There
but
you go.
still it was early.
And I'm going to go back to like your birth, Mary's birth. Even people that were doubters or like, come on, are you really going to go through with all this? It's something different when you get to see the child and then the child growing up, that I think that plays on a person's heart and softens their views. And you talk about like, you might not be the one who goes up to somebody and says, do you know Jesus? But a lot of times it's the way your mom and Mary's mom lived that caused people to question purpose and Jesus and like natural, like who are we called to be kind of questions that you don't have to say anything. It's just that she chose to have life. Mary's mom chose to have life at a time when it would have been very easy to code it differently and be done with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, it's is it St. Francis that's at least quoted to say, preach the gospel always and use words when necessary. Mm-hmm. So I think how you live, because there are a lot of people we know out there that talk a game, right? And they'll wear it on their sleeve and they'll tell you, how special and spiritual they are.
They might wear a shirt with their picture and their name on the back.
Yeah, well, I know somebody like that, but there are people that do that, and then they live a life that's completely contrary to what they claim to believe.
It kills the message.
Yes, and so the authenticity is so important. And I really, my mom was a spiritual hero for me. I mean, her faith she was a early Catholic convert when, back in the 1920s, against the wishes of her parents, but she converted to Catholicism, and it was everything to her, because she really, in her mind, I guess, had to, I don't know if earn it's the right word, but she chose it, and it was hard to make that choice. And so that was impactful to me as well. I mean, I'm a cradle Catholic, right? So I've grown up with it. And as I've matured, I'm more proactive in my faith than when I was younger, because it's just all I knew when I was growing up, right? Now I make a choice every day to be Catholic, and that's one thing about the Congress we were talking about on the prior episode. That's one of those times it was just so awesome to be Catholic. Yeah. And it's never not awesome, but there's degrees
we
of
got to be the
awesome.
cool guys in town that day.
No, I mean, it was, and just, to walk the streets and see nuns and priests and, everybody with our orange lanyards, you knew why they were there. And it's just, now I get to choose it. It was chosen for me, but now I get to choose it every day, every single day.
Well, I want to give you a sincere compliment. We've had some people on here that wrote books that have been transformative in my life, like Andres Whittemer. We've had people on here that have been, as major speakers in the Catholic Church. I think is somebody like Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers. I mean, there's just been people on here that Amanda knows this, my wife knows this, that I would call my heroes, because it's not the celebrity actor. It's the person who's living that genuine faith, no matter what their craft is. And before I knew who you were, I was so intrigued because I had heard about Bill Sladek. Then I got to know you specifically. I think I met you at the first YCP gala. I feel like I was sitting there talking to you there. And then I was very fortunate to just be around at different times or at meals, and then it got further and further. And I say this without any reservation whatsoever. You're an absolute hero of mine. I've been saying this forever. I cherish the witness that you are for all of us. And I don't know, maybe when I get to be old like you, I can be just like Bill Sladek. It was sincere, guys.
I don't know. You're doing a pretty good job already.
Getting old?
Well, getting old, yeah. Well, it beats the alternative, as they say.
I agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
The bags under my eyes have bags under their eyes, and that's why we are going to wrap the show up. I'm getting old.
That's why.
Yeah. I can't stay awake very long. No, Bill, what a blessing. Huge fans of you. And I think you've blessed the BeatiDudes nation with this series of shows.
Absolutely.
Well, I was watching, I must confess, I watched, just to prep for this a little bit, some episodes. And on one of them, you talked about you were sweeping this room, and that the BeatiDudes, and it had swept almost to Nick. So I'm thinking,
Almost
because you
sweeping the
said
nation.
sweeping the nation, we're talking about BeatiDudes Nation. So
sweeping the tiny
it
table.
swept all the way to Nick.
Let's
we made it.
go,
We made it.
let's
Look at this.
go.
I can reach all
Oh,
the way up
there it is.
Oh,
it happened.
Ding.
Ouch. Idiot.
If you're
No,
not
I think-
subscribed to us on YouTube, you just missed one.
I think it's awesome, and I think like we got to put together like a playlist of Culture of Life guests.
Story.
Like,
Oh my goodness.
we've got them. Like there's, I know
sure.
there's more out there, but like
No, but we've got 7 or
there's
8 guests.
so
at
many
least.
now
Yeah.
that like it's just cool.
Well,
right.
I
those
appreciate
are the
the-
stories that need to be told
the
because we
witness,
have
yeah.
to change the culture,
Yep.
right? That's the only way we're going to win this pro-life battle is to change the culture.
Yep.
So
All right, friends. Well, we will see all of you at the next life event. And in the meantime, we will.
See you in the Eucharist.
God bless us.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join us at our undersized table, subscribe to the video version of the show on YouTube by typing @, that's the symbol @, so shift and 2 on your keyboard, @the_BeatiDudes on YouTube. We'll see you there.